What's up, people? Welcome to this episode of the By the Hood podcast or webcast, because I don't know how you're consuming this content. I'm your host as always. My name is Jimmy. And as we start off every show, that's with gratitude. Just want to say thank you to everyone who supports anything that we've got going on. Special shout out to all the students in By the Hood University. And also a special shout out to all the students who came through to our master class we had with the Ivy Investor, which was in cryptocurrency, which was amazing. The feedback has been amazing. And that course is now available at By the Hood University. But just want to say thank you to all of you because you made that a special event. I'm joined by my partner in crime, Corey, as always. Corey, how are you?
You know, every day above the ground is a good day. Never going to complain about being alive, man.
This is absolutely true. Listen, our platform is designed to highlight brothers and sisters who look like us, who are doing positive and amazing work in the community, building businesses, and just putting out positive energy. This guest we have on, I've been looking forward to this. Ashley Van-Veen. Let me bring her on real quick and tell the story real fast. It was interesting. So it was on Instagram. We had a post from one of our previous shows, and she disagreed with the sentiment in it. And, we were going back and forth. But I said, I don't mind engaging in conversation. It was just a miscommunication. And then I saw the work that she was doing with millennials in terms of finance. I was like, well, why don't you come on our show, too, and, tell your story. So here she is. Ashley, how are you?
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Nice to meet you guys, Jimmy and Corey.
Nice to meet you.
So that was pretty funny. Like I said, I don't mind engaging because it was never like nasty. It was like, hey, I don't necessarily agree with that. And I'm like, well, explain, and I explained what he was trying to say. And, so that's where it started. But, thank you for the feedback anyway. Like, I like the fact that you challenged us. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for being so gracious.
Because I know how it is online. Sometimes people take it the other way and they just get, but I'm like, I like feedback, especially when it's well thought out, instead of just like some people go online and just like name calling. That's stupid. But you said, no, I disagree with that because of this. And I appreciated that. So then I saw the work you were doing. And we're going to talk about the work you're doing. But before we do that, can you tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, and, how were you raised?
So originally, I think you asked where I was born. So I was born in Guyana, and Guyana is in South America, as opposed to Ghana in West Africa. Typically get that mixed up a lot. So I was born in Guyana, but I've lived in the United States most of my life. And just a tidbit about Guyana now, it's kind of like a hot place right now. There is oil, which is a new thing now. And so it's estimated that in the next 10 years, it's going to be a really major hub in South America. So there's like a Forbes article that I read recently. So like we're talking an oil reserve that is comparable to what's in Iraq, like really huge oil reserve. So there's a lot of improvement that's going on right now. Like every time my grandparents live there. And every year that I go, like huge improvements in infrastructure. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see where it's going to go. I guess the question would be like, how would I invest? So the thing about it is like, I don't know where to invest, right? Because, do you buy land? Do you look up the stock or anything like that? So it's trying to figure out, where I should put my money or if I should jump in.
Yeah, I gotta look at that article. I looked that article up. That's huge. You're talking about the size, like Iraq. That's huge.
Yeah.
Interesting information right there. So when you came to the States, where did you guys reside in the States?
So Baltimore. That's where my parents live. My mom lives. So I went to middle school here, high school, went to college in Maryland. And
so where'd you go to college?
I went to Salisbury University. It's in the Eastern Shore of Maryland. That was kind of like major was respiratory therapy, and I am a respiratory therapist.
Okay.
Nice.
So we got you involved in finance and money. How did you go from your profession of respiratory therapy to wanting to get involved in finance and helping millennials with their finances? How that transition happened?
Yeah. So a couple years ago, I came across the Dave Ramsey following and started to look inward and try to figure out how I can be in a better place. I made good money, but there was just stagnation. Like, it was just never accountability. So I paid off some debt, paid off my student loans, paid off like a brand new car in a year. And then realized that I wanted to be in a community where people like me were just talking about money, right? It's not even boasting, but just like talking about it. I wanted to kind of have a place for that conversation. And so Bankable Facts came out of that, of me sharing my journey, but also wanted to normalize and outing myself as like a money geek. And so, I probably a year ago, I started Bankable Facts. It was just a following that started on Instagram. Now it's a small business that I am working on. So that's where the money thing came about.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about that is you talked about being able to have the conversations. Like I don't know about you guys in Corey as well. Like but in my family, like money just wasn't talked about that way, right? I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people in the family don't even know what each other makes in terms of what they make, what their debt looks like. It just wasn't a conversation. Like, was it that way in your family as well? And I asked both of you guys that, Corey. You never really had that conversation about how money was talked about in your house.
I mean,
Yeah.
Ashley, you can go first.
Yeah, money, it's not really talked about as to like how to keep it, and how to be strategic about it. My mom, came to the States as an adult, from Guyana, and I kind of wish there was a family member who pulled her aside and said, make sure you did this, like family members who'd been here for years and taken the steps to like prepare for retirement way young. I kind of wish they had pulled her aside and say like, hey, make sure you do this, right? But my mom is a saver, and we're realizing that just saving is not enough to build wealth. So yeah, like in our family, it's not normal to talk about money strategically. Everything is assumed that you're handling it well if you have a job. If you have a job, cool, that's it.
Yeah. How about you, Core? How was money talked about in your household of all?
As a youth, when I was young, money wasn't talked about at all. I mean, I grew up it was kind of weird. My growing up was weird because we grew up in a multi-generational house, my grandmother, my mother, and then the children. And then also on that same block, my aunts and my uncles lived on the same block. And then my mom actually lived in a different house than my grandmother, but we all congregated there. So it was multi-generational living. So it was kind of, money was talked about, but only in the form of pooling money when we needed to do something. Never like, I didn't know anything about how much my mom made or didn't make. I just knew that if I needed something, that if my mom didn't have it, I could ask, I could ask for my family to pool it and put it together for me. Nobody had a lot of money, but nobody was completely broke because we all kind of worked together. But I had no idea how much my aunt and my mom and my grandmother were making.
I guess here's the question for both of you guys. Like, should you have, right? So when we have these conversations, we start to like, as we progress as society and we get more information, specifically in our communities, now we have more information and we want to share that information. But how do you share the information with the youth without like stressing them out or burdening them with, let's just say you don't have a lot of money, but you're making things work. You don't want to stress your kid out. So how do you navigate that? Like, what are some of the things we should be doing?
I mean, as a person with 3 kids, I actually sit down with my kids and show them, the bills, and I show them what we're using to pay the bills. So myself and my wife have a joint account that we use to pay the bills, and then we show them all of the the stuff that we got going on with that, so that they can see that I mean, they don't know exactly how much money we make, but they can see how to make things work with the money that was available. You know what I mean? So all of the bills get paid, and make sure that all of the if we got credit card bills and stuff like that, all of that stuff gets paid.
So Ashley, let me ask you, Ashley,
Yeah.
in your opinion, you talk with a lot of millennials, and this is that's your primary base. What do you think are some of the things that parents should do to try to have those conversations and enlighten the kids more with finances? What is your opinion?
So I have a brother. He's 10 years old. We are 18 years apart. So I'm in somewhat like like a really, really, really big adult in his life. And so there's some things that he knows, like if he gets money, there it's you spend some, save some, give some. And then so he understands that. And it's something that he sees me building bankable facts. So I like that it's so normalized for him to know that money has a purpose, and you can do so many things with it, and make sure that you're doing all of those things at once. So, I mean, that's my experience. I'm not a parent yet, but I have my younger brother, and I have an investment account for him that I put just like a little bit of money, or if he gets Christmas money, godparents money, or anything like that, I help my mom invest that money. And so we haven't told him that there is money out there invested for him. And so that conversation may come where he understands that, his parents are preparing for his future in that way. So, and it might just be an age thing. So maybe right now he's not ready for that conversation, but maybe in a couple of years he will be ready for that conversation.
Interesting. So let's talk about the actual name, Bankable Facts. Where did the name come from, and what's the inspiration behind that?
I don't know. I was just thinking so hard about a good name, and it was going to be Millennial something. But if you go on Instagram, there's Millennial everything. And then it's so hard to spell millennial. So I'm glad that there were so many that I was like, okay, let's think about something else. And then Ashley from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and my name is Ashley, and I was like, Ashley Banks. And I was like, what is it? Somehow Bankable Facts came out of that. So I'm so happy. I love the name. And it's actually really unique on Instagram too. So I like it.
Okay, nice. So because your target audience is millennials, and you're trying to help millennials and have conversation with millennials, what are some of the things in your work that you find some of the mistakes they make, or some of the misnomers that millennials have in terms of money and finances?
Yeah, so particularly I want to talk to millennials who have 9-to-5 jobs, right? So like me, I'm a regular person. I have a regular job. I make a regular income, right? So I want the 9-to-5ers to really, use what they have available to them. So this is the 401ks, and some cases an HSA. And so readily use those resources that are readily available to build wealth. And so always, you're starting a new job, okay, make sure you're looking at your 401k. And then beyond that, let's look at the investments that you the investment options that you have too.
Okay, so what are some of the mistakes that you've noticed in having these conversations that millennials are making?
Yeah, I think the mistakes are counting yourself out, that wealth is not for you, starting with the investing apps, and that's kind of like a twofold kind of thing. When I'm as far as Robinhood, so we all know Robinhood, and oftentimes that's the first place that we go to, and thank goodness for Robinhood that they started making investing seem so accessible and inexpensive, right? The commission-free trading. But yet again, it's going there is not understanding that there's a tax implication to investing. So it's nice to start with a tax advantage brokerage account, like a Roth IRA or even your 401k. So that those are the common missteps that I see that my peers make is, going to the Robinhood first or Acorn. And even when you assess what Acorn really is, I had this conversation with Shida from Investing Patty. She's also on Instagram. We talked about Acorn and how potentially problematic it is because their concept is to invest your spare change. And then they have a monthly subscription of paying $1 a month. So that's $12. If you would look at the subscription fee of $1 a month right, and use that as an expense ratio of whatever investment, then you would have to invest a lot of money for that to be like an expense ratio that's comparable to just buying like going to buy VU, right?
Mhm.
Buying a mutual fund that has an expense ratio that's 0.1. Like, so therefore the cost is like $1 for every $10,000 that you spend.
You've done the math. You've done the math, and that,
Yeah.
and you know what? That's not just a millennial thing, because a lot of times in speaking with adults and older folks, that they
Sure.
don't they don't look at expense ratios. They'll look at an
Yeah.
ETF or a fund, but they never look at the expense ratio. So that's interesting. You've actually done the math, which is important. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's very important. And personally, I have like a love-hate relationship with those Robinhood Acorns. I have, and I'll tell you
Yeah.
why. Being in the business for as long as I have, it's been difficult to get certain people um to even look at investing or understand investing.
Yeah.
And when Robinhood came along, I got a lot of people involved. Now I try to get them to, okay, now you understand. Let's move you to a tax advantage account, or move you off here to, what I
Yeah.
call grown-up accounts. but
Yeah.
but it has enabled a lot of people to even just become
To get
interested. So
started.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that's why I have a
Yeah.
love-hate relationship with them, because
Right.
because they have done a job of getting people involved. I can't deny that.
That's
You
where
know.
I went. I mean, I did my 401k, but I didn't understand I was investing there. And then it was popular with the boys to be, opening Robinhood. But then I had Robinhood and I opened it. And I didn't know what to do. It was, like opening an investment, opening an app, and then now what? Like, where's the education? Like, what am I really doing?
Yeah, yeah. So let me ask you this question, because you talked about having a 401k and contributing, but not even really knowing what you were doing at the time. When you started to understand how money works, how investing works, how tax deferred accounts work, what was that moment like when it all came together and you figured out like, oh wow, this is investing and this is how you build the future? What was that moment like?
So here's how I started. So again, I'm a respiratory therapist, and my very first job, I worked at a children's hospital, and in Charlottesville, Virginia. And I was like 23 back then. I'm 28, 29 now, going on 29 now. So I was 23 back then, and it was like just one day downtime in the NICU, and a coworker, we just had a conversation about money. So he's older, like mid 40s, something like that, has a family, and for me, rich white man, right? So
Hmm.
we're talking about money, and he's like, "Are you investing?" And I said, "Well, no, like it's always like something you meant to do, but you just like you don't picture that you're going to do it, or you can do it, or it's meant for you." That's how I felt back then. And so he said, "Well, aren't you putting money in your 403b?" So at the time, my company, their retirement plan was called a 403b.
Hmm.
So I said, no. And I remembered this coming up in orientation, like the onboarding when you first get a new job. And I remember it being there and it sounded awesome, but I just didn't do it because it wasn't talked about.
Hmm.
And so in that moment, he walked me to the computer and sat me down, logged in and signed up for it like right then and there. And I started with 1% of my salary, right? That was my way in, is like, okay, if you can do 1%, then you'll see how it goes. And then you're going to work your way up. So I started with 1%, worked my way up to the match. And then probably a year and a half leaving that job, I saw that what was in the account was like thousands of dollars, or maybe it was like, like between $1,000 and $2,000. And I was like, whoa, like, and that was the moment for me that I realized that there's value in this, right? Of course,
Okay.
I could have looked at it when the market was down and it probably would have been discouraged. But nonetheless, I also, what I also noticed was that the company money, like the bonus that the company gave me, the match money,
Hmm.
was also a significant portion in what I took away when I left that job. So
Gotcha.
that began to be a very like eye-opening moment for me. And then further on, I did some more reading up on investing books, and more and more learned more and more, I found people who thought the same way.
Interesting. So that's an amazing story. That's how it works for a lot of people in terms of those 401ks. But they're very important, especially when you get that match, right?
Yeah.
I'm always astonished. I know people that have worked at places for 20, 30 years and have never contributed. I'm like, you know how much money you've lost out on? But anyway, so that's an interesting story. So now you've taken it upon yourself to create like your own community and have these conversations. What made you want to kind of give back and share? Like, I know you wanted to create a place where you can have the conversations, but you didn't have to. You could have just joined somewhere. What made you want to create your own thing?
Because my voice is necessary. Based on.
I love that. I love that. My voice is necessary. I love that.
My voice is necessary. I'm a Black woman. I'm an immigrant. I am just like your girlfriend. Who, I'm just another girl that, I call myself rich auntie. So I want to appeal to just the fly girls too. Like, we can be wealthy, and we need to be wealthy, right? Like, women, we make a lot of, like, we are oftentimes breadwinners in relationships. We are very educated as Black women. And we're getting these jobs out here. We're becoming business owners. And so my voice is necessary. And I received so much really, really good feedback. So, yeah, my voice is necessary.
I love that answer. That's an amazing answer, and it's true.
It's the truth.
yeah, because it's relatable, right? You so many people relate to you, and you're helping people, so that's always important. But let me ask you a couple questions, right? So, what is your favorite book or book that's inspired you along your journey to starting from where you were to creating Bankable Facts?
And if you have more looking over there.
If you have more than one, that's fine too. Whatever you want to share.
Yeah, I just can't. Let me.
Yeah,
I have a couple. Okay. So, Bankable Facts also has a book club.
Mm-hmm.
Bankable Facts also has a running book club. So, actually, we're currently reading Boglehead's Guide to Investing, and the kind of investing that I teach. Is passive investing with index funds.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many investing styles, active styles, trading, options, all that stuff. But I specifically focus on passive and forms of investing. So Rescue Your Money is actually a very good book. It was probably like a book I read very early on. Okay. And I got it from this financial firm. This guy is the author, Rick Edelman. And funny story is that Rick Edelman, his financial firm, I was recommended to it by a coworker, like a respiratory therapist who was a coworker, and he is rich, like he is wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
So like he's like already a multi-millionaire. Mm-hmm. And so he told me to book an appointment with them so they can like be my financial advisors. And I got there and I had to submit all my statements. And basically what I walked away with was that I didn't have enough money for them to hire them, basically. Mm-hmm. So that was an eye opener that like, we talk about financial advising, but like truly like, until you have like a substantial amount of money, like maybe I think typically it's like $250,000, then is the time that you should probably contact a financial advisor or a wealth manager, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So in the meantime, I'm DIYing my stuff. And then
you got a bunch of them there.
Yeah. The Simple Path to Wealth. I think every new investor should read that one. The Simple Path to Wealth. I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. That's just like a good foundations book.
Mm-hmm.
And
you mentioned the one you guys are reading now is the Boglehead book, right?
Yeah, Boglehead's Guide to Investing.
Yeah, I've read that one, Boglehead's Guide to Investing. And the other one they have I like is the Boglehead 3 fund portfolio, I think is the one.
Yeah.
I like that one as well. So yeah. but I'm familiar with those as well. I haven't read Rick Edelman's book, but I'm familiar with who he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that
I'm familiar with the names, but I've never read any of those books. Not that those. No, I'm just saying, not that those aren't good books. I'm just
no. But listen, I vouch for the Boyhood books because there's a lot of information there, and I think that and I've said this before, and people criticize me online for saying this, but I honestly, and Corey, you've heard me say it. I say it in our course. Most people shouldn't be buying individual stock because most people aren't willing to do the research or what it takes. So I think that most people should be doing what you teach, Ashley, which is passive investing. So I'm a big fan of Vanguard and what Bogle has built there.
Yeah.
But so let me ask you this question, right? So you've had a journey to getting you where you are with Bankable Facts. What has been the biggest hurdle that you've had to overcome to get you from where you started to where you are now, where you're building out your business and you're starting to grow your wealth?
Biggest hurdle. I mean, there's so many hurdles, like, breaking through and talk about money. That is so personal. It's so personal. But I've mastered personal finance on my own. Like, I've mastered my own stuff, but now I'm diving into business. So that is a hurdle for me to have the discipline, to invest in the right mentors, and use the right system and really maximize on my time, so that I can be impactful.
You mentioned a couple words there that are interesting: mentor and systems, right? So a lot of people will get into business and not recognize the power of a mentor or the need for systems. So you already recognize that. Why is that? Like,
Yeah, I'm burnt out.
Listen, that is the simplest, greatest answer in the world.
I'm burnt out. Yeah.
Listen, I love your honesty. That's an honest answer. That's an honest answer.
Yeah.
Oh man, listen. First of all, I love your confidence and I love your honesty. You're like, my voice is needed, and So I just love it. I love it. But
Thank you.
So what's the future for Bankable Facts? What are some of the things that you're looking to do to expand your platform? What are some of the things that you want to do in the future?
So in the future, something that I'm currently working on is long form video on YouTube. Just because my Instagram has been suspended. And so before that, my focus had been content creation for Instagram. And so YouTube is probably where my next home would be, and possibly podcast, but for now it's YouTube. And I get to explain myself much better and explain these concepts much better. And then other things, just working and collaborating with some really awesome women in the personal finance community on Instagram, and doing live workshops, which is something that I already do, and I really enjoy it. So my next step is doing more collaborations. But that's what I'm working on for right now. Ultimately, the end goal is just to build Bankable Facts to help many, many, many more women, to help many, many more healthcare professionals like myself. There's a certain confidence that I rock with now, being like financially stable. And I want more healthcare workers to feel this way, because I think that, we're not paid like heroes, to be honest. During COVID, a lot of hospital systems stopped matching their employees' retirement funds.
Wow.
And
I didn't even know that one. That's a good story. I didn't know that. Wow.
They did that, and 2020 was a great year. It was a really great year in the market. And so, of all the things to cut, I really feel like that should not have been the thing to cut.
So basically, they just took money out their pocket, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, they took wealth, because think about not just that. Time is a big factor in all this. So the money you could have made in the market then, and plus then there was time compounds. You start to compound the money that they took away.
Exactly.
That's the first I've heard that story. That's sad. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's
who
ugly.
are the majority that work in healthcare?
Yeah,
women. So I think that that's problematic, and I'd like Bankable Facts to be kind of really looking into like how systemically like healthcare workers that we can better pay them, better reward them, because I think more control needs to be in the talent, the actual talent that's working, instead of like the higher ups. Or there can be a balance for sure, but I mean, we work tirelessly. Like when we say frontline, like COVID patient, COVID patient, like right in my face, right? So we're really dealing like really like huge hazards, huge workplace hazards. I'm particularly a travel respiratory therapist. Being a traveler is a completely different ballgame. You get paid more, and you get better tax, paid better, more tax savvy. So basically, just a smaller percentage of my pay is taxable income. And so, like typically this is like a hurdle, like people think about, and they're uncertain about, because you work contract by contract. And so there's no guarantee as with a permanent job. But this is a conversation that a lot of healthcare workers should really consider.
Yeah. Wow. So, with that being said, you are right. Your voice is needed, for a number of reasons. But I love what you're doing, love what you're building, and stay you. I just really appreciate your energy.
Confidence.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get in, Corey, you got any questions for the sister?
I have two. Being an immigrant coming into the U.S. and coming into the school system and seeing things the way that you see it from two different perspectives, and then going into the finance space, was there any difference between what's taught in finance in the country you came from, Guyana, and the United States, or was it just it wasn't taught at all in either place?
I think when I came here, I was really young, but I did start learning economics. I was 13, so that's like middle school age. I did learn some money things. Another thing was like math was, everybody were like, no one ever said I hate math. Like it was normal for girls to love math or boys to love math. Like, and so I think that I'm happy for that foundation that I had that. It was definitely normalized to like mathematics. And so when I coach people, there's like this message, this inner self-talk that because I hate math or I'm not good at math, then I cannot be good at money or my personal finances. So, I mean, maybe that's like a culture thing that I've noticed, but other than that, I don't think that, like, I'm not on Facebook around my family about this money stuff, because I don't want people to, it's still really taboo to talk about money. So a lot of my family have no idea what I'm doing. They have no idea, like, how, to be honest, like one by one, they're finding out and they're accepting it. And they're like, Ashley, thank you so much. But I'm not going to, go out to the masses and say, hey, fam, this is who I am now.
Gotcha. Okay. And the second question I had is, on the business side with Bankable Facts, what kind of platform are you using to reach the millennial population? Like, I know you're on Instagram and stuff like that, but like, how do you, use your platform to reach the millennial population you're trying to reach?
So Instagram, I have an email list where I've got some, good people who communicate with me. The book club is also a really solid group of people who stay informed and stay in touch and build community around just knowledge. A lot of the things I do, they have to be relatable. I try to, bring my experience as a healthcare worker in there because there's so many of us. And yeah, so it's like, I mean, there's so many other places. There's TikTok and all this stuff takes work. The social media stuff takes work.
You don't got to tell us.
Yeah, it's definitely a job. But the one thing you said
Yeah.
that I'm glad you said is you have that email list, right? So
Yeah.
shout out to Erica, the classy climber, who's has an amazing YouTube channel, by the way.
You might want to get in
Say
contact with
that
her.
again.
Erica Williams. Her name is the classy climber blog is on YouTube, but Erica
Okay.
Williams.
Okay.
And she's on Instagram too, Erica
Yeah.
Williams. But one of the things that she was talking to us about is, when you build up these platforms, you may have 10, 20, 30,000 followers, but that could be gone in a blink of a minute. You have to build your list. And in terms of building your business out, to make sure you have a way to contact your people. So I'm glad you said that, because you've already started that process. But that's very important. And I mean, you know better than anybody. You talked about the problems you're having right now with IG, right? So that's proof positive.
It is an I'm awakened now. Like, it's an eye opener to not just like, and it can be anywhere, YouTube, wherever, so.
You have to make sure you get your audience.
You don't have your own list, you don't have clients.
This is true. So with that being said, Ashley, I just want to say thank you for your time. Your story is amazing. I love what you're doing. Continue to do what you're doing. I love your confidence. I love what you're building, and your voice is needed. You are absolutely correct. Your voice is needed, so continue to do that. And we're supporters of Bankable Facts in terms of what you got going on. And thanks for sharing your story with us.
Yes, thank you guys so much for having me.
Absolutely. And for the folks out there, I'll put her contact information within the show notes. So you can reach out and see what she's got going on and follow her journey and join her book club, do whatever you got to do. Just make sure you reach out to Ashley and tell her that you heard her here on By the Hood. But she's doing amazing work. And you're very inspiring. I love when the youth come on, people who are younger than us.
Young people, that energy.
Yeah, the millennials are killing it.
We had about 30. We had about 30 people under 30 on this show, and every time I'm inspired. Like, y'all guys get busy.
Yeah, I know a lot of people talk trash about millennials, but you guys are smarter than us. You're doing it the right way. You're building. So
we got more information. We have more access.
Yeah. But it's inspiring to old guy like I get inspired. So you've been very inspiring. So thank you for that.
Thank you guys so much. And I really appreciate the work that you do too.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And for our audience out there, make sure you follow Ashley, see what she's got going on, and check out everything that she's building. So with that being said, it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much you keep. Game elevates, and we'll talk to you guys in a future episode. Peace.
Okay.